In Other News is made possible with the financial support of Ariel Investments and John Rogers and generous Chicagoans like you. Thank you.
Freedom is everything. In Other News tonight, we're talking about a particular type of freedom. In fact, it's not even considered polite to talk about. Good friends may ask each other about the job, how's your health, how's your kids, but we seldom say, how your money doing? Financial freedom comes from planning, although the ultra-rich generally just manage the plan that's been in place for generations. Even wealthy folks slip up, though, and oh, the embarrassment. You made nothing out of something, while most of us have to make something out of nothing. Most of us. The wealth gap is huge, and it's growing. Black people are disproportionately on the wrong side of that gap. The median net worth of black households in America, just $52,000 compared to almost $78,000 for white households. But the gap itself is harmful for everyone when just 10% of people making money are banking nearly 50% of the earnings. So the 90% left scramble over about half of the earnings. For most of them, for most of us, financial freedom seems way out of reach. But that's only true for sure if you don't reach. Financial guru Kim Thomas is here to help us stretch. Before you say you don't have or make enough money to talk about this kind of freedom, why don't you stay and hear what Kim has to say right after this.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. Join the conversation Mondays at 7 p.m. on CanTV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CanTV Plus app.
Welcome back. You know, the state of the economy overall is debated and analyzed constantly. But in other news, it's your personal economy that makes you feel better or worse. If you're going in the wrong direction, maybe my guest can help us turn things around. Hello, Kim. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to.
Kim Thomas, a financial planner with KimCo International. So first thing I always got to ask is it really international?
Well, you know, it is if you say it.
Okay, right. If I go to another country and call you for some advice,
then it's international.
Then it's international, absolutely. So we talk about financial freedom. I think for a lot of people that may have different definitions. How are you defining it?
I'm defining it by being debt-free. That's my motto. So I decided in 2022, that's what I wanted to do for myself and also what I wanted to do for my clients. So I established a couple of different programs for get out of debt, and we're teaching people how to get out of debt, even their mortgage, in 9 years or less. So we've had some success there. And then also I don't want to say I'm completely out of debt, but just to be transparent, I only have a few thousand more to pay off and then I'm done.
So isn't there some benefit though to having a little bit of debt? Doesn't it impact your credit score if you just don't owe anybody anything?
Well, it is an advantage to have a little bit of debt where you have something that's revolving. So That's a good thing.
Oh, phew.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and swipe that card.
Okay, right. And you know, pay it. Not the minimum payment, but maybe not pay it off every month, but that could also be a strategy.
Mm-hmm, definitely. A lot of people, they want to sometimes pay under 30%, but I say if we can pay all your debt and keep your debt managed under 20%, then that's a good thing, because you want to make sure that FICO score rises up, because that's when you get a lot of opportunities when you have good credit.
What are some of the disparities, or are there, I know there are some, but stick with what are some of the disparities that make this harder to achieve for Black people?
Oh, wow, it's so many. If you want to just talk about the current situation right now, when people are losing their jobs just because of the color of their skin, that makes a huge impact on families, on our community, on our mental health. When you can't make money because you've lost your job. So that's a huge disparity. And then also just thinking about how conversations go at home when you talk about money. I don't know if this happened in your home when you were growing up, where when your mom took you into the Jewel Grand Bazaar and she said, hey, don't ask for nothing.
Don't ask for
And
Don't
you
touch nothing. Don't put nothing in the cart.
Don't put nothing in the cart.
Right.
And so that kind of set the stage for a lot of people when it came to their finances, because they were in the mindset of more so poverty or have not. And so that's a different type of conversation when people who do have money, where they're allowing their kids to explore and touch and talk and ask and give them
save
permission.
up, and I'll match it and get something.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So the right now economy, like I can't think about next week because I might not make it through this week. That can kind of put blinders on what the possibilities are.
A lot of blinders. If you just think about where if someone literally doesn't have money to pay their bills, that definitely causes a situation for people. It hurts you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It takes a toll on you, and it takes a toll on the kids too. Most people don't even have $10,000 that they can put their hands on. So.
And I think that's even people who are making fair amount of money don't have $10,000 to put their hands on. So they're making a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, I recently read in a book, I read a lot of finance books where they were talking about even if you make $70,000 or $70 million, if you don't make good choices, small or large, you can go broke. So
we were talking about that earlier. And go broke, meaning, so if I can't pay my bills, I don't know how you expect me to, what they say, pay yourself first, like set some money aside. And that's where I notice there's a lot of targeted advertising toward Black people about the wonders of bankruptcy. What do you think?
You know what? That's interesting that you bringing that up. I'm not for bankruptcy. That's not something that I teach at all. If you have $50,000 worth of debt, if you have $5,000 of debt, you can get out of it. It's all about your mindset. Wealth comes, it starts in the mind and it ends up in your purse. You have to have a certain mindset, and you have to decide you're not gonna be broke. So even if you have that $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 of debt, it could be student loan, it could be credit cards, it could be, oh, you bought a fancy car, you really can't afford it. Whatever it is, you can pay it off. All you have to do is put a plan in place and be consistent.
So I'm gonna really reveal something here. I once talked to a bankruptcy person, you would know them, they're on all the commercials, who said, oh, your debt is not the problem, you just need to make more money. I said, well, thank you very much, right? And that's because it was kind of a friend, right? But I feel like there is money in helping you file for bankruptcy, and that may be why sometimes it's pushed on people.
Oh yeah, and you know the attorneys want to make a nice coin too, so they don't make any money if you don't file bankruptcy. They would like for you to file bankruptcy so they can get paid. So.
And then what is it? But I mean, so you file bankruptcy, get rid of all that debt, you can start fresh. What's the problem?
Well, you can start fresh, but if you're in the same mindset, then what's gonna happen again? You're gonna go broke again. It's just like a diet. If you want to lose, I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for a long time. So, Robert,
don't do it in here because I'll get them. Okay, right? So
it's just like anything. You have to have it set in stone in your mind first, and then you can change your ways.
And that bankruptcy follows you.
Yes,
right.
it
So
does.
when you may be trying to get a license for something, whatever it is, and there's always that question: have you filed for bankruptcy in the last 7 years or something?
Yeah, and depending on what type of line of work you're in, it can keep you from getting a job. Mm-hmm. So you definitely don't want to do that, especially if you're trying to go into a field like mine. You cannot be a financial advisor and have claimed bankruptcy.
Well, you could always say I'm an expert in bankruptcy. No, just kidding. So we talked about how there are some disparities in employment, education, just about healthcare. that keep black people from having the same kind of wealth mindset or access to wealth building opportunities, that generational wealth that we're always talking about, people who don't need a financial plan because great-great-great-grandpa put that plan in place and the money just makes money. Not that they don't go off the rails as well. Sometimes it seems like more prone to. But Social Security is something that, came about after the Great Depression. They realized that, people were ending up old, unable to work, and with nothing. So I call it the forced savings plan. But for those who depend upon it, disproportionately, black people depend on Social Security as a main source of income in old age, which of course says you really need to have a financial plan at a younger age. But can we depend on it? Is it going to be there?
Oh, it's definitely going to be there. It's definitely going to be there. I'm a proud AARP card-carrying member and a proud volunteer, and we get reports all the time. AARP is fighting to keep Social Security, and they are definitely talking to all the powers that be to make sure that we still have Social Security, and it's going to be there forever. That's something that they are definitely saying. It's around. Don't worry. It's going to be there.
I think if we don't worry, though, then we don't do anything because we make that assumption. Then if it is, because the people in Congress don't have to do anything for Social Security to go away. If they do nothing, don't increase the contributions or decrease the benefits by 2030, I believe. That's
yes, it is.
Around the corner. It's
around the corner.
It's
2030.
Then it will be insolvent. So just saying we're not going to touch Social Security doesn't mean that they're going to save Social Security.
That is
That's
true.
from a politician's standpoint, because they double talk.
They do. They talk off of this side and this side of the mouth. Mm-hmm. So you are right. You do have to. You can't just sit on your hands and think it's always going to be there. We definitely have to join forces and make sure that we're working along with organizations like AARP to make sure that we're going to have the Social Security. We can go. We can make sure that we are talking to our congressman, talking to our House Representative, making sure that we're reading, paying attention. You can get mobilized to make sure that you're a part of the different conversations that are had about Social Security, just to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, because there are changes that sometimes happen, such as 3 million workers. They just got appointed Social Security in November of 2024, and then after that, Congress, they voted for that, and then they went on break and they didn't give any money for.
Right. so it's there in writing, but it's not in anybody's bank account yet.
That's true.
Yeah. So
true.
These were some government workers who hadn't previously been able to receive Social Security benefits. Now, one of the things I was reading about AARP, which I like, what I like about them is it is nonpartisan.
Yes.
They work with every administration.
Yes.
But they work to get, if you've ever tried to call Social Security, you'll never get those 40 minutes back, right? If the wait time was literally 40 minutes. They'd gotten it down to, I think, 9 or 7. Mm-hmm. Now, in the last few weeks, it's up because, probably the person answering the phone is off talking to somebody about what they did last week. But it's those small things which, to an individual, especially to an older person who may not want to go online or be capable of going online to ss.gov, and they want to talk to somebody. So those kinds of that depth of service, not just the check you get every month, but the Medicaid and Medicare that may go with it, it's complicated. And I'm wondering how does AARP, do you think, I know you're not with kind of walk that line of being apolitical, right? We're nonpartisan, and still advocating on behalf of what I call the union for not even just old people, okay, but for working people who have to depend on Social Security.
Well, to be a part of AARP, you have to be 50 years older or more. And so when I turned 50, that's when I said I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I made a difference. So yes, I am a member of AARP, but I'm a volunteer. So when you say, am I with them? Yes, I'm with them, because I'm a member. But also ARP, what I have found is they go to Washington. They talk to the folks there. They have relationships. And as you already know, when you have a relationship, then you're able to kind of sometimes make little small nudges just to be heard. So that's a good thing. And ARP has been in existence for 65 years, so they know what they've been doing, and they know how to do it fairly well. So I trust those folks. I don't see any other organizations doing what it is that they're doing.
It'd be nice if they, I'm not saying that they need competition. They are nonprofit. They probably wouldn't mind. But to me, they're only as strong as the hundreds of thousands of people who are behind them. Because one thing for them to go to D.C. is another to have a whole gray-haired contingency of marchers out there. And I don't know that it'll come to that. But I do know that Social Security, as we know it, if something doesn't happen, it won't be there. And
That's
I think
true.
sometimes, and we as Black people disproportionately depend on it more. So I appreciate your conversation about bankruptcy. And now that we've talked about Social Security, and even if it is there, you living only on Social Security is not really living.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Did you know the average check is $1,300? What could you do on $1,300?
You got to move from Chicago, that's for sure. Okay, so.
You have to move. You can't even go to Mariano's and eat well off $1,300. Well, actually.
If that's all you spend it on, okay, for the whole month. But so what should instead, we talk about planning, not just for retirement, but planning for having life get easier at some point, right?
Well, you have to build your financial house. And so what I do is I help people do that. And it starts with a solid foundation. And the foundation is taking care of the risk first. So the risk meaning, what if I'm no longer here? And how will my children continue if I'm no longer here?
So you sell life insurance?
Yes, I do.
And it's funny because, we Black people used to have their own kind of form of life insurance.
Yes,
and
they
then
did.
the life insurance companies realized that was something that we were interested in, which is leaving people better off when we're gone and not worse off, and perhaps because of our experience in this country. But there's a lot of different, and I don't even want you to try to explain them all now, there's a lot of different life insurance products, some that just insure your life, some that also can grow into some money that you can use while you're alive, right?
Yes, and that can be a second level of cash reserve, so to speak. So like when building your financial house, it starts out with the life insurance being the foundation, but on the door of your financial house is your cash reserve. And that's when you have your different bank accounts. It could be the checking or the savings, or it could be the high yield savings account that people were talking about on Instagram all day and night, all the time.
You're talking about this 5%?
Yes, they're talking about it. And then, but you can use life insurance.
But a lot of them have minimums, right? If I only have $500 to put in there, I might not get that 5%.
Oh, totally. And the interest rate changes. It doesn't stay the same. So they don't put that. Well, they put that in the
the little tiny fine print. Okay.
That people do not read.
Okay. If you had $1,000 right now, what would you do with that? 1,000 extra. I know extra in front of dollars doesn't even sound right in most situations, but $1,000 extra dollars, what would you do with it?
Well, if I only had $1,000 just period, what I would do is I would look at what are my goals and my objectives. So it's not necessarily just, I have $1,000 and I'm just going to invest in Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, as you already know, it can change by seconds. So that may not be a great investment for somebody. But if it were someone who were trying to maybe send their kids to college, maybe they might go into a 529 plan. Or either if it's somebody that wants to retire, maybe they might look at a Roth IRA, because that's the one thing that you can invest in that's tax deferred, and you pull all money out tax free. So
because you pay the tax on the way in.
Yes, you do.
Okay. So let's just say instead of that one lump sum, I'm thinking small. What if we've talked about people having a hard time even just paying their monthly bills, let alone. Do you think that most people could find $100 a month?
Yes, they can.
They
can. I teach people all the time to trim the fat. What you really have to do is do forensic accounting. You got to pull the curtain back. You have to.
That's why nobody wants to talk about this, right? Because talk about how much money you spend on coffee.
Yes, because coffee got really expensive for Kim Thomas. And what Kim Thomas had to do is go to the store and get one of those little bitty refillable pods in her Keurig, and then put the beans in the refillable one every day and save myself $5 a day, because small money becomes big money. You got to be consistent about it.
Okay, $5 a day. Shoot, that's
Yeah.
$35 a week.
Come on.
Okay,
So I done found
that's
that
all the
hun-
math I have, folks. I can't go any further than that. So let's say you find $100. You do the
find that
forensics.
$100?
You find that $100. What would putting that aside, $100 every month, what would that grow into?
Oh my goodness.
And I know there's no guarantees, and things change, the market, the rates, whatever. But if you look at, what would I have after 5 years?
I'm about to blow you away.
Okay.
Or
however
I
many years
have
you got.
20 years. I
Okay.
have 20 years. So if you have $100 a month, earning a 5% return in a 20-year time, that's $41,000. $100 a month. And we just found it by eliminating Starbucks, by your Starbucks trip. Well, let's not eliminate it, because we need Starbucks sometimes.
We don't have to have Starbucks.
Well, we can have pizza or any other, we can have any other kind of coffee, but make it something that's cost effective, and then maybe something you can make at home and just buy the beans. But you can find the $100 a month.
While we're talking, I'm really trying to think of the black-owned coffee roasters that I can't think of right now, but it'll come to me, because we don't want to give pub to people that don't need it, like Starbucks.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. They got enough money. So yeah, with that $100 a month, once you do the forensic account, and you could probably find more than $100 a month. Let's say what I changed getting my nails done more often. I go get my nails done one time a month now. And nails are $100, unfortunately. I mean, I remember when nails was only $25.
Let me tell you what, nails are
$100.
free if you do them at home. So it works. It works for me.
Yes.
Okay. But also, I heard that saving is addictive. That once you get a little bit of money set aside, that you're like, ooh, let me see if I can make it grow faster. And on the other hand, if you broke, you're like, well, I'm already broke. I may as well go into some more debt. That you tend to continue to go downhill. Is that what you find?
Yes, I have found that it's all psychology to it. So yes, you feel a certain type of way. Just think about it. If you pull out your coat out of the closet that you haven't worn in a while, you reach in the pocket, you find $20. Don't you get a little pep in your step? You feel some type of way about that. So that's a good feeling to have, and you can have that all the time if you consistently put that $20 away, consistently every time. Small money becomes big money if you're just consistent with it. So even if a person doesn't have $100 a month, they can start with $5 or 10, 15, 20, but just be consistent about it. And then they'll stand up a little taller when you see them. They'll have more pep in their step, and they'll be a little bit more confident because they understand that they're on the road to success.
It is hard, though, to think about 20 years from now, right? And especially, maybe you're a couple of years into putting that $100 a month away, and something comes up, and you're like, I need to tap into that money. And everybody, isn't going to have a financial planner, right? I mean, if I barely got that $100 a month, how can I afford to learn from someone like you?
Well, actually, it doesn't cost a ton of money to have a financial planner. Financial planners are here. They're available. You can find a financial advisor at the bank if you don't necessarily have a lot of money. They're there. They would like to work with you.
So if you start at 23, don't we all wish, right? That's where you get that, at 20 years, 41,000, but you're probably putting away more than $100 a month. Start before you have, a family and all those other financial obligations so that you can put more away. That's brilliant. I don't remember really, and I came from a solidly, upper middle class family, but I don't remember the financial conversation ever happening.
Ever?
Nah. Can I have it? Yes or no? Okay, but how do you make money work for you besides just in the piggy bank?
Well, my mentor, Dr. Roger Salter,
who was also the first person to talk to me about finance, about financial freedom.
Yes.
And that was 30 years ago. Or more.
Yes,
and God rest his soul. He was a good man.
He has helped a ton of folks become financially free. And so he told me that you literally have to start where you are. So a lot of folks might be looking at this show today and they might say, oh, I'm 50 years old. It's too late for me. No, it's not too late. It's never too late. Even if you're 75, it's never too late.
But as you said, talking to, there's a lot of scammers out here, and there's not a lot of trust in our community for somebody else dealing with, or it's certainly not managing, touching your money. The fact that Roger Salter from Stanmar has spawned like a whole wave of African American financial advisors. What do I need to look for to make sure that, besides you, what do I need to look for to make sure that what I'm getting is advice and not scammed?
That's a great question. Only 2% of African Americans are certified financial planners. That's the CFP designation. So if you do luck of the draw, get a great CFP, then that's where you can start there. Also, you can start at your bank, because sometimes they do have financial advisors at each location. So that could be a start there. And then also, how about changing the narrative and having a conversation around the kitchen table and talking to the youngins and the seasoned ones, and everybody talk about money. You know, just share some ideas, share some ups, share some downs, some successes and some losses. That's how we all learn. We didn't start out winners. We all had some challenges.
That's interesting, because nobody wants to talk about money. It's taboo. It's like, they'll talk about the sex before you talk about money.
That's true.
And probably get some bad information. But that, just having that conversation and being willing to talk about it, I think is a big part of it. And we Google everything else. We may as well Google that too.
We do.
All right.
We do.
I appreciate your insights. It's and you say it's not too late. I'm 102, so I'm gonna start very soon.
Let's start.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kim Thomas of KimCo International Financial Planning. You have some events coming up?
I do. For Financial Literacy Month, which is my favorite month of the year.
Give me your website and they can find that.
www.KimCoInternational.com.
Okay, because you got to meet people where you are, and hopefully you'll be at one of the events learning more. Right after this break, I'm back with this week's edition of Robin's Nest. Stay with us.
Every community has a story, a pulse, a voice waiting to be heard. At CAN TV, we bring these stories to life, from the heart of Chicago to your living room. Join us in supporting hyper-local television. Your backing helps us cover what matters directly in our communities, unfiltered and upfront. Help tell the important stories of our communities. Become a program underwriter today.
My thanks to Kim Thomas for helping us explore our wounded finances and offering some ideas for treatment. Thanks to you for sticking with us, even if the whole topic strikes a painful nerve. As always, I welcome your feedback. You can email me at robinsothernews@gmail.com. I've been thinking about why the subject of our personal economy is so avoided. It's put off until tomorrow's tomorrow. Maybe it just makes us feel not so smart when we have yet to plan for financial freedom, especially those of us past our prime earning years. The important part we can try to control, though, is not yet. Of course, everybody wishes they'd started earlier. Why didn't somebody put $1 a day on my day one? Start there and keep going. Hopefully, at least more young people can be convinced of what a great financial advantage it is to start early. But for those who think it's too late to plan for financial freedom, I'm reminded of what they say about when to plant a tree. 20 years ago is the best time, but the second best time is now. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.